TCED stands for Theological and Christian Education, and that is a department, the youngest department of the Cameroon Baptist Convention. Theological and Christian Education is as old as the Cameroon Baptist Convention, but as a department, it is the youngest of them all. When I say that Theological and Christian Education is as old as the Cameroon Baptist Convention, I mean that as far back as 1954, when the Cameroon Baptist Convention had the first general session, that is when the CBC also was created. One of the measurements of an effective church was already Sunday school. That tells you that Christian education began with the church. As the organization moved on, there were many committees in charge of education, in charge of developing people, in charge of developing manpower in terms of building their competencies, building their knowledge. And so theological and Christian education has always been there, but it was not until the 2014 Constitution review that it was inserted into the Constitution as a department. That desire to have a department take care of Christian education, take care of theological education was always there, but it came to be organized only during the review of the Constitution in 2014. And so Constitution was reviewed in 2014, putting that department as a full-fledged department. General session of 2016 decided that that department must take off latest in 2 years' time. And in 2018, the department took off with the first director. The mission of TCED is encapsulated in one word, which is facilitation. Okay, the department plays a facilitative role, facilitating theological and Christian education in the church and her institutions. The facilitative role is that the department is there to ensure that there is theological soundness in what is taught in the churches, in what is taught in the institutions. There is theological soundness in what is done, okay, in our programming and in our teachings, in our structures and in our operations. There should be theological soundness. It is the work of this department, the mission of this department, to ensure that that is happening. The vision is to see Christ formed in every man. We are looking for that day when every person under the banner of the Cameroon Baptist Convention will be presented mature or perfect or complete in Jesus Christ. That is the vision. The mission of the Cameroon Baptist Convention is to proclaim the gospel holistically in Cameroon and beyond, in obedience to the Great Commission of our Lord Jesus Christ as led by the Holy Spirit. That holistic aspect of it explains the many departments that we have. How does the mission of TCED fit into the overall mission of the Cameroon Baptist Convention? It is that department that equips the members of the organization. You know, the church exists to reach in, reach up, and reach out. Okay, to reach in edification, in education, to reach up in worship, to reach out in evangelism. We are that department that reaches in. So the department is there to equip the people, to build the people who have believed. There is a way that the Theological and Christian Education Department ensures that the Christians of the Cameroon Baptist Convention mature spiritually, are equipped with skills and competencies that can help them to proclaim that can help them to proclaim the gospel holistically, which goes beyond verbal expression. It talks about the fact that if we have teachers teaching in our schools, they should function in a way that even in teaching physics, okay, or mathematics, there's a way the gospel is proclaimed through that work of teaching those subjects. Or somebody working a ward as a nurse, there should be a way that they function in such a way that their life also speaks the gospel, or people feel the love of Christ through their service, and so on. So that is how this department strengthens and functions to ensure that the overall vision and mission of the CBC is realized. We are talking about the structure of the department. We want to begin from the name of the department, Theological and Christian Education. Theological education has to do with equipping mature believers for ministry, okay, with advanced theological knowledge, with skills of doing ministry. Christian education has to do with maturing believers in the different programs that we have. So we have what we call the theological education services, we have the Christian education services, we have the Christian supplies service. Okay, that is how we function. The theological education, I already said, is equipping mature believers with advanced theological knowledge and skills for ministry. Christian education is discipling and developing Christians unto maturity. A Christian supply service is our marketing and the distribution service, distributing all the literature and the resources that we develop in the department to the users. That is on the overall, the structure of the department. From the point of central administration, we have the 8-hour day of work, and there is the production of literature, which is one of the core things that we do on a day-to-day basis. There is the training, intermittent going to the fields to train Bible teachers. There is the equipping of individuals in institutions for different services. There are administrative meetings, and then there is conceptualization of how ministry should go. You know, the world is changing very fast. Everything is changing very fast. And so one of the things that happens is just that monitoring of the trends on how things are going in the world and how we should respond to all of those things. So there is that production of resources, there is that equipping of people, there is that monitoring of how the trends are going and conceiving what to do next. When we talk about production, we are talking about the writing of literature that is used for teaching and for training and for equipping. And these things are conceived from, first of all, the feedback that we have from the fields, the observations that we have, how the trends that we observe in the church, okay? So the production of material, the writing of material is usually done as a response to situations. It's always addressing something in our context, always addressing something in our day, to address our daily challenges, address our daily lives, address the knowledge gaps, spiritual knowledge gaps that exist, and so on. The department naturally collaborates with other departments of the CBC. And we operate with the belief that CBC has only one mission, and that mission has been shared to departments for the purpose of efficiency, for the purpose of impact, greater impact. We learned in secondary school that division of labor leads to efficiency, not so. Okay, that is the basic principle of departmentalization. When the organization has shared the mission into departments for the purpose of efficiency, that departmentalization is supposed to ease work, is supposed to make ministry easy, is supposed to facilitate ministry in the church and her institutions. And that is why I said that we have a natural collaboration with other departments, because our work runs into the work of other departments. I can give you an example. You have evangelism and missions focuses on bringing people to Christ. Okay, that is where the work of evangelism and mission is ending. That is where TCED is beginning. Okay, TCED is beginning there because when we bring people to Christ, we have to bring them up in Christ, equipping them, maturing them, and equipping them. And so you have education department, which is running nursery, primary, and secondary schools, and teaching all this other body of knowledge, what we call secular subjects, that have to be taught in a way that, in an integrated manner, so that people don't just know how to think, but know that there is God. Okay, they have a relationship with that God, and they grow. People leave our institutions with an encounter. Okay, so we join the institutions there by not only educating the mind, but also educating the heart, because we also believe that the heart of education is the education of the heart. And at that point, we collaborate with resource sharing, okay, even health. Okay, the workers who are health personnel, many of them do our theological education by extension programs. Okay, many of them get equipped so that as they function to give quality health care, they are also radiating the love of Jesus Christ. Okay, so that is how we just have, and then you have men, women, youth are just the people that our resources are equipping in the churches. Okay, and then you have every other department. We are just linked up. Spiritual growth and discipleship is actually the Christian education arm of the department, which is a key focus. In fact, the production of material that we do here that are used in teaching the people helps in the spiritual growth and discipleship of Christians. Okay, so we have those resources. We also equip people who should be able to equip others. That is how we ensure the spiritual growth. The things we produce here are used beyond the CBCN. The Cameroon Baptist Convention uses the resources we produce here. But when you go to our supply center, you meet people from diverse backgrounds, okay, coming to buy resources there. So those resources are used beyond. And when we run a program on radio, we are reaching beyond. In fact, that is our desire. We say we want to educate beyond the walls of the church. You are not only speaking to people in the CBC, you are speaking to the community. So we play a very significant role in the spiritual growth and discipleship of people within and out of the CBC. We have a system of distributing these resources that we produce from here. We have a way that things move from CBC central administration down to the fields. And there is the use of a runner. Every week there is a runner, and then that runner goes with everything that they have to take for their own station that they are representing. But we also use agencies, transport agencies, to send things to their destinations. Sometimes when we go out for training, we go out with material and people come and buy, okay? But sometimes individuals too also make requests, and then they tell us how we should send the things to them. And sometimes people actually come here to buy, and they actually come to central administration here to buy what they need. Or when they come for events and meetings, they buy their things and then they go with them. Yes, the evaluation of the use of these materials happens in at least 3 ways. The first way is that we listen to the feedback from the users, from Christians and the teachers and pastors during events, okay? When we go out to training, we also ask them to give us feedback on how this is happening, okay? How they are seeing what they are using, what they think should be improved on it, okay? What they think should be changed, what they think should be added. The second way is through the impact conference. We have the Sunday School Impact Conference, for example. Whenever it is happening, we always release, we always administer questionnaire where the respondents have to tell us what is working well and how it could even be better. And they give ideas on how it could even be better. And so these are ways of evaluating the use of those materials. Also, when we print, we know how many we have printed, we know how many have been bought. So we know, we can compare with previous years to know whether the consumption this year was larger than the one of last year or the other year, and so on. And we can do that just by the deliveries. Okay, we can also know the level of use. If usage was just to be determined by how many were bought, because somebody could still buy something and not use it. All right, so but that is a metric. That's a way of measuring, of evaluating usage. When it comes to Christian education, leadership training, discipleship, main thing we do to provide the resources that are needed. That's the first way of supporting, to actually do the leadership development ourselves. That is another way of supporting it. And the resources that are released to the fields are aimed at developing people, okay, spiritually. And they are in their different categories. I already said that those resources, there are resources to mature Christians, there are resources for discipleship, there are resources for capacity building, like equipping people to be able to teach. And then we also actually go out to accompany the people to help them in the use of those materials, and to also help them get training from us, so that even when they are training others, we would have first trained them. Like I always say, it is difficult from a Christian leadership perspective to talk about achievements. Politicians do that with ease, but it is not very easy to do that from a Christian leadership perspective. Anyway, we want to talk more about milestones. What are those different milestones? What are those things that we have together ensured that they happen. The first one is that we have standardized the production of literature, the layout, okay, the form of the literature that comes out to the churches, to the institutions as CBC literature. We have standardized it. That's the first thing. It never used to be, okay, there were always resources coming out from the CBC to the churches and her institutions, but they never used to be a standard, okay, but we now have a philosophy that we are championing, okay, that we are pushing through. We are standardizing. If you are writing something to be used as a teaching material, this is the form it has to take, and so on. That's a standard we have standardized. At least that is something that is there. Secondly, we have made sure that there is timely delivery. The church has what they need when they need it, okay, so that there is nothing like lack. Okay, we have a lot. When you turn to schools, they are crying that there is too much literature for them to deal with. Give us only one big one that carries everything, okay? But it is a good problem. It's to me, it's a good thing that people have a sea of a pool of resources to be selecting from. That is a good direction that we are taking. We are not yet having a full pool as we would have wanted it to be, but that is the direction we have taken already, and it's already at a certain level that we will want it to be. And so those are things that have happened so far. We have the central supply service that supplies things to the churches and our institutions. Okay, that has not always been there. It's been a thing where you go home at 8 p.m. somebody is calling you to ask for a material and so on. But now we have a central supply service that supplies whatever is produced. It's like our marketing center, okay, that supplies whatever is produced to whoever needs it. Talking about source of income for the department, we have the money that is made from sales as the primary source, but we also have the proportionate giving that comes from churches. The churches give proportionate giving to central administration, the executive president's office, and then the executive president's office shares that proportionate giving to the departments that need it. And we are one of those departments that benefit from that. And so we have that income that comes from what we produce. We also have that backup that comes from the proportionate giving, which is, I must say, very significant. Okay, so those are the sources of income. The impact of the TCED is very visible. The success stories are so many. And when we launched the Impact Conference 2 years ago, there were testimonies, there were videos of testimonies of how the education ministry of the church has been the reason why some people are now in Christ, why some people can now say they know their calling, why some people can now say they know their gifts, and so on. Why some people even now know that they can teach something they never knew they were able to do. It is thanks to the Christian education ministry, the theological and Christian education ministry. We produce materials, and sometimes some things have impact to some people more than some. And recently there was a family week, a series of lessons for the family week that had a lot of testimonies coming from the field, even out of this country. Okay, so much that the impact is difficult to measure. Kingdom impact is always measured, to me, always has insufficient metrics. It's never very easy to have the full measure of the impact of ministry. But we are only talking about the visible things that we can see, the feedback that we can get. Some people will get the impact from what is produced from here and will stay quiet. They may not even think that they have to call you back to say thank you, like others have been doing. We don't need that thank you. We are not desperate about that thank you. But we always like it when somebody shares it. Okay, we like it when somebody shares it. Usually we say that we are ministering for God's glory. We are not desperate about statistics and stuff, even though that is good. Even though we actually go doing data collection, even though we actually look for user feedback, but we don't want to be driven by that in such a way that we begin inflating figures and trying to create a picture that doesn't really exist or that is even less than what the reality is. Like I said, impact in ministry is never fully measured because there are things that will happen to people that you will never know. You will never ever know. So even just by reading, some people may read. Somebody appreciated a lesson, a booklet we wrote on understanding the church. And that was a strange person. We just met casually. It's not like we planned a meeting. We just met somewhere in a junction and we were greeting and talking, and then he talked about that and how that series clarified the Baptist principle of church autonomy to him and how he has functioned better as a local congregation leader because of that. And there are many people we have not met who may have similar things to share. So the impact is really there. The impact is really there, and people share it openly. Some don't share, but we know that God is doing something in His church. The major challenge we have faced in fulfilling our mandate has been the upsurge, the recent talk about local church autonomy and local church self-theologizing. Okay, there is a group of people that think that because the Baptist church is autonomous and because we emphasize self-theologizing as part of that church autonomy, we should not write things from the central point for use across the board, which is really a problem. It's a challenge. It's a very big challenge, not because we are regretting that somebody is not buying or using what we produce. That is not the issue. It's a challenge because that way of thinking is not helping. It doesn't help the church. It is actually telling us back that this is the kind of, there's work to do. There's more work to do to help people to know that there is an advantage ministering together than ministering in isolation. In fact, church autonomy does not mean isolation. Signing up for membership into a Cameroon Baptist Convention church, or signing up to serve with the Cameroon Baptist Convention, or signing up to be a congregation of the Cameroon Baptist Convention is actually signing up for cooperative ministry. It is to be there and start talking about isolation is a contradiction. And so that is why we are what we are struggling with. However, that is just like less than 1% of the Cameroon Baptist Convention. The people who think that way are less than 1%. But it is a challenge because sometimes, like someone has said, you will have an influential minority that derails the majority. And that is a challenge for us. We think that is something somebody should be thinking further that they are thinking now, because that can harm the national church. Our impact as CBC is deeper than impact of a single congregation. A single congregation cannot create the impact that the national church can create, especially within the prevailing circumstances. Isolationism is dangerous. That is one of the key challenges we have, which is really dealing with us. The other challenge is that we are struggling to match up with the speed of promotion that is out there in the world. You know, out there is a lot of junk that is well promoted, well advertised, better than we are doing with what we think is not junk. Okay, so that's a challenge for us, and we want to match up. We want to match up with that availability, because when you are criticizing something which is available in the hands of somebody, you should also provide something to that person that is better. So much that we need to be as available and present in the society and in the world and in the lives of people at the same rate that our competitors are doing with what we think is really junk. So summarily, those are the some key challenges that we have. In the next 5 to 10 years, we have what we call Vision 2029, which is actually an 8-part vision. There is something we want to see happen in the next 5 years. By 2029, we hope that we will achieve excellence in Bible teaching in our different congregations. By excellent Bible teaching, we mean that we're looking forward to a time when people will not just teach the Bible in churches because they know how to read and write and they are there, but they will be mature Christian overflowing through teaching. Okay, that is the first thing we are looking at. And we think that if we were to get to the fields and equip people, because in our equipping, we also begin by challenging people to have assurance of salvation. Because you don't just assume that because somebody came around that they were Bible teachers or a Bible teacher that they were Christians. Okay, you want to achieve that excellence so that they don't just overflow, but they also teach with the right competence. They teach rightly. They teach the way teaching is supposed to happen. You look at it, you know that this is teaching, learning happening. You don't just think somebody is not just talking. There is a consciousness of the fact that this is the person, the person teaching is conscious that they are teaching. They know what they are doing. They can tell you what they are doing. And they can explain to you why they did not do it the other way. That's excellence in teaching. Okay, I just said that excellence means children of God overflowing through teaching. And that teaching has to be teaching. It doesn't just have to be somebody standing before people and talking. It has to be teaching. It has to be well done, okay, using the conventions. That's the first thing about excellence in teaching. And we're also thinking that we need to train, we are looking forward to practical equipping of these Bible teachers with different kinds of things, with resources and with skills. We also are looking forward to what we call resource innovation. Resource innovation means that we cannot keep producing only the same material under the same names every year. While there are constant things like Sunday school, okay, there are other things that can come in different sizes and shapes. And so innovation means saying this, that truth is not changing, but there are new ways of saying the truth. That's what we mean by innovation. We want to present old truth in new ways, the old time gospel in the new way, okay, to come to people as an all-time gospel. All right, that's innovation. We're also thinking about partnerships and structures where we are determined to strengthen our collaboration with other departments, with the other fields of the convention, and even other structures outside of the CBC to be able to make our work better. We are looking at the leadership development, what we are calling leadership density. Leadership density for us is a situation where we have so many people in the CBC that can provide leadership. That's what we call leadership density. We want to achieve that. Sit in a search and nominating committee and you will just realize that we have work to do. Okay? Just sit in a search and nominating committee to search for people for some responsibilities, for some positions, and you will start looking around and it's like there is nobody. Okay? We want to address that by achieving this thing we call leadership density. And fight theological illiteracy in the churches, because there has been a belief over the years that theology was a reserve of a few, was for pastors, was something that pastors should be doing and knowing, and can teach us the bit that we need to know. Theology is for every child of God. We want to engage that theological illiteracy so that the pastors get into ministry and engage ministries as equippers, okay, equippers, so that the pastor doesn't graduate from the seminary with their big systematic theology textbook and they come and fit it into their shelf and feel very great that they have big books in their shelves, but they know that the content of that big book is what every Christian has to know. And that poverty manifests itself in many ways. You know that in most congregations, many Christians come to know about the 9 major doctrines that we know only during the pastor's ordination examination council. In fact, the pastor can minister in a church for a long time without ever teaching about angels, for example. And they come to hear only the doctrine of angels when they are defending their doctrines prior to their ordination, which is a very big problem. And so we want to engage that issue of theological illiteracy. We also are looking at the financial growth of the department. whichever way you look at it, ministry and money have a wedding, have had a wedding. In fact, this is a wedding conducted by God himself. God has decided to bring money and ministry together. There is no ministry thing that you will do without money. Okay, we want to improve that side of income. We want to see how we don't have problems of cash, of money, so that ministry should be moving. We want to see how that is addressed also by 2029. And that is why we are running the Christian Supply Service, which is like our own Amazon, kind of, because we want that anything that people need in ministry, whether it is literature, Bibles, okay, gadgets, equipment for ministry, they just touch the Christian Supply Service and they have it. And then we are also looking at the digital outreach, digital access. We want to be able to valorize the advancement of technology. Technology is a tool, okay? It's a tool that we need to make use of. And that is why we are developing the media unit of the department to be able to reach out. We have a phenomenon of online churches. There is a lot going on online. In fact, people meet easier online now than face to face. Do you know that we can sit around a room now and we are having nothing to do with each other because each person is communicating with another person on phone, on social media? That is the world. So the virtual space has become so busy in such a way that we need to enter into it and provide what is needed there. And so we want to see that happens and that we educate beyond the walls of the church through the media, radio, television, all the social media platforms that are there. Those are the things that we are looking for. We are putting in place, we are building a team strategically. We are setting up the team in such a way that qualified people who are not only qualified in terms of skill, but also having the right motivation are brought to the table. That is the main thing we are doing. Because at the end of the day, it is people that will achieve all of this. And so for us, the idea of building the right team is very, very important. And like I said, it is beyond looking for skills. It is about people having the right attitude and the right motivation. Because somebody who is highly motivated can be taught, is more teachable than somebody who is skilled but not motivated, not moved, not having the passion for what they're doing. Okay, so we are building a team. We hope that team will be able to work together to reach these ends. We have a good number of people that have functioned to keep this department growing to this point where we are, and we cannot do without appreciating these people. I mean, acknowledging and appreciating these people. We have people like the Reverend Member Amos, who was there in the days of TEE. We have the Reverend Gemlak Martin, who was also there in the days of TEE. We have the Reverend Dr. Shadrach, who was there in the days of TEE. Okay, because the department evolved over the years as TEE, which is Theological Education by Extension, to include services of Christian education, and now it is a full department. Well, we have Pastor Connie, who came in the transitional days when the department was moving into the shape that it now has. We have the Reverend Dr. Ndeli, who was the pioneer director of the department in 2018, and I'm only the second full director of the department after him. And these are people that have built the department a lot. But even before that, there has been Reverend Dr. Ndichafa, who is like the brain behind this department. He has been one of the architects, okay? And he has had a passion for Christian education. And he, even when he served as the General Secretary of the Cameroon Baptist Convention, he did a lot to ensure that this department took off the ground. And he actually set up a unit, a visible unit under his office at that time, and there was a full-time Christian education coordinator. The team that we are building, called the Theological and Christian Education Department Central Administration, has the director, has the Office and Public Relations Assistant, has the Curriculum Officer, has the Christian Supply Service Manager, has other volunteers that are working with us, together with the Curriculum Development Assistant that is there. I want to appreciate all of these people who are with us, because I think they are becoming the kind of team that we are looking forward to building. The TCED is, to me, the kitchen of the CBC. Is the house where the food of the CBC is cooked. And so every other person should care about the department. Every other person should be so mindful about what they eat. Okay, the quality of your kitchen is crucial. What goes into your system, okay, is very, very crucial. So I think it is naturally it is supposed to be a natural concern of the CBC Christian what the theological and Christian education is doing, their needs, their challenges, how they can come along. Okay, so the Christians should really be mindful about the TCED. We are looking for prayer partners, people who can pray along with us to face the heavy challenges that we already have. Producing teaching materials for the church and her institutions is also spiritual warfare, which I think we need prayer partners. When you write something, you are praying that when this is being used, it should achieve its purpose. Lives should be transformed. So we will desire prayer partners, we desire funding partners if there are people who can fund the department or equip the department with technical equipment. We are talking about the media reach and access, which is a function of equipment, of up-to-date equipment, audio-visual equipment, okay, those things like that. Somebody can partner with us in that, can donate either money or equipment that we can use to produce programs, to produce TV programs, to produce media programs that are of quality. okay, for dissemination. We need that kind of equipment, that kind of partnership. We also need people who can assist us in the development of the curriculum. The number of people that sit in central administration to produce these things is small because of our tight resources. But we could have more people come along, maybe people who are actively working in other ministries but can also work along with us to develop curriculum, to write resources, okay? We need that kind of partnership. We also need volunteers, okay, who can come along with us and train people. Okay, we need volunteer trainers, partnership in that direction. If we talk about media reach, for example, we also need our media people to have state-of-the-art training. Okay, we need that kind of partnership. There are people who know these things very well. There are many people who are tech savvy and they can just come and offer their skill and equip our own personnel to function well. We can train communicators of the gospel. Okay, so we also need literature sponsors. When we print, okay, we need to print at a certain level. Okay, we need literature sponsors. We are even looking forward to having a status of a publishing house. So we need sponsors in that domain. People can sponsor us to have the status of a publishing house and also to have the equipment and the personnel of a publishing house. Those are things that we can partner with. We're also looking for missions collaborators. Okay, missions collaborators, people who can help us in different missions that we have already talked about. And so ministry cannot be done alone. It can never be done alone. We can never know it all. We need partners in those domains. All right. Thank you very much. And it was a pleasure talking with you about the Theological and Christian Education Department. And we look forward to you coming along with us to impacting Cameroon for Jesus Christ. Thank you.